So now the people of Jannah are going to describe how these people who used to have light, they used to have light, they used to have faith, how did they lose it? How did they end up bankrupt on Judgment Day? And this ayah is particularly profound because then it will give us an insight into how does someone lose their Emaan. How does someone end up taking the most priceless treasure that they can have in this life, our faith, and end up squandering it and losing it? It doesn't happen overnight. You don't just lose your Emaan. It's a process. And that process has been described in these timeless words. Bala, of course you used to be with us. وَلَكِنَّكُمْ فَتَنْتُمْ أَنفُسَكُمْ. However, you put yourselves, I'll do a rough translation first and I'll explain. Number one, you put yourselves in fitna, you put yourselves in trial. Fatana in Arabic actually means to put something to the test. Fatana is also used when you test the purity of gold and you melt it and impurities come out. Gold doesn't go through an easy test, it goes through a painful burning test. The idea of fatantum anfusakum, there are many lessons associated with it. For the purposes of this khutbah, I'll highlight one of them. You kept putting yourselves in situations where your faith gets tested. Try to understand what that means. You kept putting yourself in environments where you knew it was bad for you, but you said, no, I can handle it. I got this. You kept surrounding yourselves with friends that would do bad things, say bad things, see bad things, go to bad places, but you said, I'm not like them, I'm just trying to help them. And you kept going back into those environments. You kept getting into gatherings and places and situations. You kept putting yourselves in those places assuming that it will not have any effect on you. It'll affect everyone else, but it won't affect you. You know, the first step wasn't that these people just became disbelievers, it was actually bad company. They put themselves in questionable circumstances. And they assume that it's not going to have an effect. You know, you understand? When you first put yourself in a bad environment, you might feel it. You might feel, this isn't good. This is going to mess me up. I don't think I should be here. Your heart will feel uncomfortable. But if you keep putting yourself in that situation over and over and over and over again, guess what? It doesn't bother you anymore. It changes them altogether. The first problem was you surrounded yourselves in a bad environment. فَتَنْتُمْ أَنفُسَكُمْ. What was the second problem? The second problem was وَتَرَبَّصْتُمْ. You kept procrastinating. Now what does that mean? That means you realized it's bad, and you also realized in your own conscience, I should change, but you told yourself, I'll change pretty soon, inshallah. I'm going to change. I know I have to change. I know this is bad. Just one more week, and I'm going to be a different person. Tarabbastum. You didn't want to make a change today, right now. You assumed, not only are you putting yourselves in a bad environment, you're not ready to make a transformation right now. It's too much for you to be asked. You'd rather just stick it out. You'd rather just enjoy a little bit more. This is what tarabbastum. But you know what? And you assumed, by the way, this also has an assumption. The first assumption was it doesn't affect you. It doesn't have an impact on you, but it does. Something really bad becomes normal to you over time. You get desensitized. What is the effect of tarabbus, of holding off and holding off and holding off? Actually, you assume that you can put the brakes on at any time. And you can walk away from all of it whenever you want. I'm not addicted. I don't need this. I'm not hooked on it. I could just walk away whenever I feel like. The truth of it is, that's not the case. The longer you stay, the more addicted you become, and the more impossible you feel, it's impossible for you to get out of it. You're completely immersed. You're completely drowned. And you don't even know anymore what it is to be outside of this environment. And then you start telling yourself, it's too late for me. And when that happens, a guilt sets in. The guilt sets in that I'm pretty messed up. Man, I've been doing sins. I've been in this bad environment. I should have made tawbah a long time ago, but it's too late for me. And nobody likes to feel bad. Nobody likes to feel guilty. And then shaitan comes and says, why do you feel guilty? You don't have to feel guilty. The only thing that's making you feel guilty is this Islam thing. Islam says this is haram and that's a sin and that's a sin and you can't do this and you can't say that and you can't go there. Islam keeps making you feel bad, man. I want you to feel good. How true is Islam anyway? And now the thoughts start running in this person's mind, a man or a woman. Why am I even following Islam? Then two things are taken away from you. The desire for Jannah is taken away. The desire for making Allah happy is taken away. The desire to have that light that will make you run and get to that destination, you don't even have that in this world. The person who desires to seek that success with Allah, Allah will give them that in this world. But that desire is gone now. You have doubts about it. And the fear of hell is gone. Those two things are gone. Your fears are gone, and your hopes and aspirations in Allah and the akhirah are gone. The afterlife is nothing to you. The afterlife means nothing. If somebody even brings up heaven and hell, it's a joke to you. Well, if you take away heaven and hell, if you take away the motivation to end up in the reward of Allah, or get away from the punishment of Allah on Judgment Day, well, the only motivation you're going to have left are things that are left in this world, isn't it? You got nothing left in the next life. So the only thing to look forward to are stuff that's left in this life. And this life will be money, it'll be fame, it'll be leisure, it'll be pleasure, it'll be material things. That's all you ever think about, that's all you ever care about, that's all you ever want to know about, that's the only thing that ever interests you, that's the only thing you make efforts towards, because you think all of these things are going to bring you happiness. They'll bring you contentment. So the next words are, وَغَرَّتْكُمُ الْأَمَانِيُّ. False hopes deceived you. You had false hopes that some kind of worldly thing will bring you happiness, and you ran after it. You gave all of your life to it. And you would think that this will bring you what you're looking for, and you get to it. Like people wanting to see, people nowadays obsessed with the next movie that comes out, the next toy, the next device that comes out, right? Lines for the new Star Wars longer than passports for Hajj, Why? Because you need to go see it. If you don't see it, how does your life have any purpose? How your life means nothing if you didn't see it opening night, And so you have to see it. And by the way, hoping that this will bring you some kind of fulfillment that you haven't found anywhere else. And people walk out of it and say, that was pretty awesome. And then they're bored again. Like, what do I do now? Maybe I could go see it again. And then go see it again. They're like, well, not as exciting the first time, but still pretty cool. You keep looking for something more to fulfill you and fulfill you. Because the thing that will completely fulfill you, the pleasure of Allah, is no longer there. That desire is no longer there. وَغَرَّتْكُمُ الْأَمَانِيُّ حَتَّى جَاءَ أَمْرُ اللَّهِ. Until the decision of Allah came. This was your life. This, according to the believers, is a summary of a person's life that lost their faith. They started just with putting themselves in a questionable environment, and from there, it's a downward spiral automatically. The next thing is you start getting hooked on it, you put off, and then later on you start developing doubts, and from there, the only thing you ever work towards is worldly, lustful, material gain, material desires. وَغَرَّكُمْ بِاللَّهِ الْغَرُورِ. And then Allah says the ultimate deceiver, gharur is mubalagha. The incredible deceiver was successful in deceiving you. This is what the believers say to the munafiqun on the other side of the wall. This is an incredible scene, folks. They're standing by this wall in shock. Why aren't we on the other side? And now they're being reminded by their fellow believers on the other side. Well, remember that you did this, 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 and this. And this is a gift of Allah to you and to me. It's a gift of Allah that this, hideous scene has been painted on Judgment Day. Because I would rather know now than then. I'd rather not stand there and then find out shocked. Why am I on the wrong side of this wall? Why am I not on the other side? How come I don't have any light? How come I lost this thing that Allah had given me? Every one of you sitting here, every believer has light inside their heart. Allah has granted it to us. The problem is whether or not you and I want to hold on to it or not. So you and I have to identify where we are. Maybe we're the people that just started putting ourselves in a fitna situation. Maybe we just started getting ourselves caught up in the wrong thing. Or maybe we've been caught up for a while and we've been putting off letting it go. Maybe that's happened. Maybe we've even gone further down the road and now we've started developing doubts. Maybe that's how far we've gone. Maybe we've gone way down the road. غَرَّتْكُمُ الْأَمَانِيُّ حَتَّى جَاءَ أَمْرُ اللَّهِ. Now all we live for is toys and pleasures. That's all we live for now, is entertainment. That's what we've become. And so at the end of it all, nothing you earn, nothing I earn is worth anything on Judgment Day except that light. This is why when this passage began, Allah Azza wa Jal described it with light. And that light is the only thing that matters on Judgment Day. إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى رَبَّهُ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. The one who comes before Allah with a sound heart, the heart that can beam light in front of them. Anything else that you and I have, that we have now, is worthless. It's completely worthless before Allah on Judgment Day. You can enjoy it for now, but if you get caught up in it and it takes up the space in your heart, then you have no room left for light in your heart. You just don't have room left. Which is why the last ayah of this passage is فَالْيَوْمَ لَا يُؤْخَذُ مِنْكُمْ فِدْيَةٌ وَلَا مِنَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا مَأْوَاكُمُ النَّارُ هِيَ مَوْلَاكُمْ وَبِئْسَ الْمَصِيرُ. And today, there's not going to be any compensation, any ransom acceptable from you. Don't try to pawn it for anything else. There is no access into those doors. There's no getting through this door with any kind of penalty or payment. You can't get through. Not from you and not from those who've disbelieved. The scary part of this ayah is لا يُخَذُ مِنْكُمْ فِدْيَةٌ وَلَا مِنَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. You are now in the same position as those who disbelieved. You ended up being in the same position as those who disbelieved. I'm not going to take any ransom from you, and I'm not going to take any ransom from them. All of you, your place is fire. وَبِئْسَ الْمَصِيرُ. What a terrible place to be that is. And so at the end of it all, after painting this scene, Allah concludes. And I'll conclude with this ayah as well. How is it that we can continue to preserve our light and continue to remind ourselves not to put ourselves in that downward spiral? And whatever little light we have, how can we make it stronger and stronger and stronger? Allah Azza wa Jalla Himself says, أَلَمْ يَأْنِ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَن تَخْشَعَ قُلُوبُهُمْ لِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ. Isn't it yet time that believers' hearts should become, their hearts should become filled with awe, with the remembrance of Allah? Truly remembering Allah will bring awe into the hearts. And the more your hearts remember Allah, because Allah Himself is Nurus Samawati wal Ard, Allah is the light of the skies and the earth. The more Allah is in your heart, the more light is inside your heart. You understand? So He says, remember Allah. And then He says, how do you remember Allah? This is called Ataf Bayan in Arabic. وَمَا نَزَلَ مِنَ الْحَقِّ. And they should be filled with awe because of what came down from the truth. Because of the revelation, because of the Quran. Ponder over the Quran, remember Allah through the Quran, weep when you recite the ayat of Quran, think about what they mean to you, the gift that Allah has given you, because not only is Allah the light of the skies and the earth, the Quran itself is also described as light in the Quran. فَآمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَالنُّورِ الَّذِي أَنزَلْنَا. Believe in Allah and His Messenger and the light that we sent down. Quran itself is called light. Azza wa Jal is now in these few ayat painting one of the most important realities, depicting one of the most important realities in the life of a believer. The Emaan you and I have is not something we can hold on to. This light that we have been given is not something that's guaranteed. It's not. Just because you have it now and you feel secure, if somebody says salam to you, means they're Muslim, you say wa alaikum السلام ورحمه الله وبركاته. They're both Muslims, they're believers to each other. We assume that we all have the light of faith inside our hearts. But according to these ayat, some people will stand up on Judgment Day and be shocked. I thought I was with you, and you're not. So we better realize that it's not automatic. It's not guaranteed. It's something you personally will have to make efforts for. I personally will have to make efforts for. And your Emaan will not help me, and my Emaan will not help you on Judgment Day. We're all going to be caring about ourselves, our own light. إِرْجِعُوا وَرَاءَكُمْ فَالْتَمِسُوا نُورًا. Go back, find your own light. And right now we can cooperate with each other. And right now we can strengthen each other's Emaan. But on that day, there's not going to be any help. May Allah Azza wa Jal make us of those who preserve the light in our hearts. May Allah Azza wa Jal make us of those who are not on the wrong side of that wall. Protect us and our families and our loved ones from nifaq. May Allah keep our hearts from becoming hard. And may Allah Azza wa Jal make us of those who continually internalize the word of Allah, allowing our hearts to soften and to be filled with light. Barakallahu li wa lakum fil Qur'an al-Hakim wa nafa'ani wa iyyakum bil ayati wa dhikr al-Hakim.